Well, everyone, welcome to October. Bienvenidos. It is going to be an Oktoberfest of poetry here at Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone, and today we begin the month of October with our Poets Focus, with one of the tried and true forms of poetry, the ode. Our focus today is on the ode. I want to thank everyone who joined us last week for our special event. And if you were here in this room, I just got chills just thinking about saying what it was. That's what it was like to be in the room as we had our special event here on Cultivating Voices, co-sponsored, co-hosted with Headmistress Press, in remembrance, celebration of the lives of Minnie Bruce Pratt and Leslie Feinberg. Just always a reminder, folks, if you miss any of our programs, they are available on our Facebook page. That's right. It's the biggest heart I have for that reading. Thank you, Risa Denenberg, who's here in the house with us today, for all your work as we put that reading together. And of course, to all of our phenomenal readers in our audience who attended. It was truly a remarkable reading. And if we had to lose these two beacons, these two humans, whenever we lose a poet, if we have to lose them, the joy that I get in at least coming together in community and hearing their work, it takes a little of that sting. It takes a little of that grief away for a brief moment. So thank you so much. Well, we have three fantastic programs for this month. A reminder today, of course, is our Poets Focus on the Ode. Next week's our new book showcase, and of course we will round out October with our wild card. But today it is the ode. It is the ode, and I want to just encourage those of you in the room who haven't really thought about the ode for any amount of time, that, like, what the heck is an ode? Well, I just went right to Wikipedia and, you know, got a very good definition of the ode, a workable definition of the ode. So it's really a formal lyric poem that is written in a celebration or dedication. They're generally directed with a specific intent in mind. And the more formal odes do have a classical structure and parts related to them. And it's often something ephemeral, such as love or beauty, music. It can be, of course, to anything. But American poets tend to tilt it a lot. We have love affairs with complicated relationships with forms, is what I've observed over the years. And I'm sure that in different countries around the world, the ode is celebrated and used differently. So very looking forward today to seeing prismatically how we interpret the ode around the world, because we do have a beautifully international audience joining us today. And thank you one and all here in our Zoom room studio, and those of you watching us live on Facebook. Well, we're going to get right to the poets. I want to just remind folks and kindly ask, if you do particularly have content in a poem that that may be triggering to folks, that if you would give a content notice ahead, that's out of courtesy and respect to of everyone in the room. I know that we cannot possibly have content notices for everything and know how each person is going to experience a poem, but I do ask if it's something of a very explicit, if there, you know, is sexual imagery, violence, and that you provide a bit of a content notice to allow those who might want to mute during your reading for that purpose. We want this to be a safe and as safe a space as possible. A reminder to use the chat generously, also in that respectful way. And of course, if you have information about upcoming readings that you're doing, whether in person or online, or anything about news about you or upcoming books, your current collection, anything you'd like to put in the chat, feel free. We will not be doing traditional bios in the Poet's Focus. Well, first up today is Bryan Franco. Great to see you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm not going to be on camera because my computer just kicked me off when I turn my camera on. So I have 3 shorter pieces, and they might only qualify as odes or titles. So we'll see what we have here for you. Hold on. What's the one? There we go. First, Ode to Emmy Lou. When I think of Emmy Lou, I think of the permanent sadness in her songbird voice. I think about the tortured, soulful vocals in Wrecking Ball. I think her soul is happy when she sings, as Aretha Franklin's was when Aretha sung. I think the good Lord wanted her parents to name her Harmony. The next is Ode to a Tour Guide. Sometimes I laugh out loud when I think of jokes you told. Sometimes I cry inside when others say you weren't so old. Sometimes I feel you standing by me when I stand alone. Sometimes I hear your voice in city drone. Sometimes I see your face reflected in other people's eyes. Sometimes I tell myself a joke that could only be understood by you and I. It's a different kind of love song I sing for you, my father. It's a different kind of broken heart I feel. You were there to give me guidance and somewhat sound advice, and now I must live this life of tangled pathways without a tour guide. And I guess I should give a trigger warning because this has been called food porn. It's called Ode to a Good Burger. A good burger can be a pub burger. Crusty on the outside, slightly pink on the inside, plump and pillowy, sandwiched between toasted brioche or potato roll or ciabatta, the type of burger that compresses to just wide enough for your mouth. When you squeeze the sandwich, when you take a bite, its juices drip onto the fries like manna from heaven. No condiments are needed for this grilled masterpiece. Lettuce, sliced raw onions, and beautiful bread and butter pickles under the bun are proverbial cherries on top. A good burger can be a greasy burger smashed flat on a flat top, with American cheese, chili lettuce, chopped onions, a thick slice of tomato, and maybe just mustard or barbecue sauce. It's not as fancy as a pub burger, but takes your taste buds on a trip to the beach after you packed everything up and the sun has begun to set, but still shines brightly in that cheap roadside non-chain local little joint where everyone sits outside at picnic tables and finishes the day off with soft serve ice cream and honeycombs. Gracias, everyone.
Gracias, Bryan Franco. There it is, folks, our first set of odes. And why not ode to an American burger? I am in favor. Absolutely. Love it. Great work, Bryan. Thanks for starting us off. Well, our next reader, Marjorie Maddox. Wonderful to have you here. Thanks for sharing your stories in the pre-show. And following Marjorie will be Regina Garcia.
Thank you. Now that I'm very hungry for a burger. I'm going to read 3 odes that I wrote because I was writing a very difficult subject matter, and I needed some levity to kind of keep my sanity. Ode to Normal. Between crises, normal enters as faint memory. Mannerisms we knew once upon a time, now fresh from the shower, blonde hair dripping, long legs hop clicking 2 steps at a time down the front stairs, just in time for flank steak and garlic mashed potatoes, which normal passes ever so politely to the right. How to high-five the return of the missing, prostrate ourselves before the stranger, unexpectedly resurrected from pain in time for an ordinary Saturday. We swallow our songs of praise, sit on hands anxious to applaud, refuse the almost unbearable urge to break dance on the kitchen table. Here, we say to Normal, is the unfatted calf cooked to your liking, and over here is your favorite childhood dessert. So good to have you. Please come again. And Ode to Almost Silence. Praise to the door clicking shut, to absence warming up the room, but not completely. Fireplace flame still spitting its lazy opinions, radiator humming its calm, the floorboards creak letting you know it's still there, but won't interrupt like the brash morning jazz your husband plays before coffee opens the ear to thought and conversation. Here, the louder hush of outside world kept out, wind, occasional cat, an emergency, not yours, begging for someone else to run or fix or bark commands that can't break into this cordoned off zone of chosen contemplation, where sometimes, even now, you hear the memory of waves, the scratch of soul on sand, the swirl of shells, and even your chin lifting into salty air as you listen, not for the lost and gone, but for what is there and here, inside the ear and the empty house, not empty after all. And the last one, Ode to Everything. Enough of the lamentations, open the window and sing. The world is awash with world, color-dripping globe always tilting into some awe or another, clouds stretching wide, plump happiness, even in the noisy stage show of showers, such sunny ovations. And the birds, overpopulating every poem, swoop here for free. Swallow, hawk, robin, gull, eagle, what else can be written but wings that wave horizon to horizon? And enough of windows, praise doors, step out with arms open and eyes gathering vim and vision, grandeur trailing from worm and woodchuck, branch puzzles of woods, open boat of breeze, all brimming with hey and hallelujah and celebrate, such green giving of thanks, such miraculous mercy of earth, calm valley, and even this rugged rocky chain we climb now as family, claiming praise as respite, holding close each breaking day, dangerous yet divine in all its gorgeous glory. Thank you.
That's Marjorie Maddox, everyone. I am so grateful that you were a poet. And not only that you were a poet, that you're a poet who comes to our program. I mean, I'd be grateful if you were just out there too, but like, yeah, anyway, thank you. Thank you for those 3 poems. I actually love how they connect, you know, they're almost a triptych in my mind. Great choice for today. Thank you so much, Marjorie. Marjorie also has a relatively new book out. You might want to put that information in the chat. And I know we're going to get you on as a feature in our new book showcase soon enough. And hopefully with your daughter with those images. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Well, we get today, Kim. This is an abundance of poetry riches that we have here today. No question. I look at this list. I'm just like, wow. Next, we get to hear from Regina YC Garcia. followed by Ann Tweedy. I mean, it's just beautiful. Thank you. Regina, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I should like throw my hat in the door. My granddaddy used to do that, you know, like if he hadn't been to your house in a long time, he would throw his hat in the door. So I'm really glad to be here with you. I'm excited that I get to come after Marjorie and kind of announce that she's going to be doing some stuff for us with the North Carolina Poetry Society. She and her daughter, Anna Lee Hafer, will be doing a talk and a reading and a wonderful whatever on the Museum of My Daughter's Mind. We're doing fall fantastic ekphrastic, and we are excited to have her join us. So yeah, Marjorie all day. Okay, so this is fresh ink. I do have some odes, but I don't know. Something just happened and I said, oh, okay. This is called Ode to the Gathering. In times ancient, past, present, to come, the gathering has always been, will be, assembled to ease troubled minds, broken hearts, fear of failure, dread of death, and yet, conversely, it has led in the rejoicing of victory, the welcome of newness, the building of hope, the breaking of bread, the insisting of justice, the giving of mercy. Yea, in times of breaking hard earth and crossing rugged terrain, the concept of the just one cannot provide refrain or clear the land with singular plow, or stand watch alone day and night, or celebrate with self-same vigor with the victory of the righteous outcome. We give praise for the gathering. For it is in our despair, when this world has turned before our very eyes, that we have been uplifted by the unexpected arms of people who care and have come to share words of sage wisdom, warm bread, commiserative hearts, a leg up, a hand holding, a ring around, a gathering. Praise for the gathering. Not the clamoring mob, not the evil conspirators, not the closed door coven. Praise for the righteous gathering. The ancestors' ring dancing in the clearings, the unnamed gods who gathered us in, moved us from one way station to the next. Praise to the gathering. Those who are here, linked in mission to bring in greater, to voice the voiceless, to frame the fight, to be our army of seconds. Praise to the gathering. Those here, or even in the sky, twinkling in our by and by, the gathering of angels and orishas, the great cloud of witnesses, those with me and those with you here today, those in this room, praise to the gathering, the Spirit sent gathering, great God, the gathering. This is my ode to the gathering. Praise be, praise be, praise be. Thank you.
I don't even want to come on camera after that. You know what I'm saying? That is too good. That is too good. Praise the righteous gathering. Oh my gosh. And fresh ink to bat. Oh my gosh. That is
Just for y'all, just for y'all.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. What a tremendous, tremendous gift for many of us in the room, most of us on this Sunday. Dare I say, I felt I was there. I was in the Church of Poetry right there with you. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Whew. Kim, I don't know if we're going to get through this one today. But somehow we move along. Ann Tweedy's next. I mean, I know Ann Tweedy can throw an ode down. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I have a couple. One's really short. This is like one of the first ones that I ever got published, and I at a workshop in the 90s, the teacher told me that I should take off ode because it was too pretentious, but I added it back on for this. So this is Ode to Garlic. As smooth and richly contoured as a breast, your ivory cloves entice. Their gentle impressions perhaps lead to some exquisite cloister. The peaked ends titillate. Only your aroma exudes the fire that staves off all but the resolute. Akin to the wiles of certain butterflies, your piquant scent deters the unworthy suitor. Thank you. And then I have this one more, it's called Ode to the Black-Eyed Susan. I remember when I first saw you, Rudbeckia, walking with my mother down Hall Street across to Juniper, which was then all dirt, houses going up nicer than our 1950s Cape. I think I was around 5, contentedness in walking with my mother and a cautious curiosity about all the clamor and a sense of being on the verge of change and not wanting it. And you were there, Rudbeckia, in little clumps along the roadside. And they do say you like roadsides and disturbed areas generally. Unlike me, you don't much mind change, or at least you're willing to engage it. Rudbeckia, I admired you then, your beauty and tenacity, nothing else growing along that road. And I worried about you. In my mind, I could see asphalt would displace you as the neat frames of houses were clapboarded over, those skeletons a kind of betweenness. You had felt welcome and so would be lost. I felt helpless, Rudbeckia, and I think walking there on that far back day, I began to love you. Since I've often described you as my favorite, though sometimes iris enamors me, intricately curved petals, the color I love, purple, goddess name, you are its opposite, Rudbeckia. Your commonplaceness impresses me, your simplicity, named for a person with a burst of golden yellow and an unflower-like brown middle. You and Iris loved for different reasons. Different parts of myself emulate each of you, but you were first, Rudbeckia. I think of myself standing on that untrafficked road, content and yet worried about you and that sense of there being nothing I could do. Ever since I have pursued you, wanting you in my wedding bouquet decades ago, but the florist said no, you wouldn't be blooming in May and she wouldn't order you. I asked a few more times, hoping for a different answer. And these past couple of years, I have tried to grow you, reputed to be easy to cultivate. Your seeds barely sprout, then die off. Rudbeckia, I think you were the first one I loved, knowing it wouldn't last. And I hope someday you will accept my clumsy efforts. I have been flighty, Rudbeckia, moving from place to place, abandoning houses to other owners. But you are short-lived anyway, a biennial. And who knows, maybe if you flower one day, I will see you and be able to stay. Thank you.
Oh, that is just beautiful. That is quintessential ode. And the ephemeral, right? The fact that the Rudbeckia itself is ephemeral. Beautiful, beautiful rendering. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, the stars are coming out today. They are coming out today. Right in daylight, they're coming out today. Wow. And I'm glad you put ode back into Ode to Garlic. Good. That was the right call. You knew it.
I just did it this morning.
Oh, you just did it this morning. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Reclamation. Reclamation. There it is. Stay well, my friend. I'm glad you're with us today. Enjoy the rest of the program. That's Ann Tweedy, everyone. Now we will hear from another pal of mine in the Pacific Northwest, Lenora Good. How are you? I hope your breakfast has been scrumptious.
It was. It's a Middle Eastern dish, and they dip the bread in olive oil and then in a mixture called za'atar, which is usually thyme and sesame seed and salt, but it could be other herbs too.
Yeah, za'atar is exquisite. It is an
Ah.
exquisite taste sensation.
And I'm very fortunate because right outside my door, and barely around the corner, is a an Iraqi bakery, so I get good za'atar, good olive oil, and wonderful bread. I have an ode to Grandmother Earth from her old Catawba mixed breed. Dear Grandma, this is your old Catawba mixed breed, misplaced by a whole continent, who never learned of our people, language, or customs until almost an adult. But because they are of Sioux and Cherokee stock, I learned a word or two of Lakota, the language of my tribe. I also never lived near our share of your bounty. Now I am living on lands that you once shared with the Cayuse, Umatilla, and Walla Walla peoples. I thank you. The European in me apologizes for the way my white ancestors lived and treated my red ancestors. The whites believed they were superior in all ways and that their God ordered them to remain so, enslaving anyone of a different color, killing them with disease or bullets. How did my great-grandfather treat his Catawba wife? I wish I knew. Then again, it may be better if I don't. For not sharing, I thank you. For this day, I thank you. For this reading, I thank you. For my West Coast cousins and my East Coast tribe, I thank you. For the food grown by farmers, I thank you. For the water that runs freely downhill, I thank you. For the animals willing to die that we might eat and live, I thank you. For the friendship of Thomas and Mess, for whom I dedicate my death doula class, I thank you. For the fish, the flowers, the land, and the air animals, for providing for us food, shelter, beauty, joy, I thank you. For the song of the bird, the purr of the cat, for my friends near, far, and as yet unmet, I thank you. For teaching us, if we but listen and see, for my family of blood and of choice, for the companionship of the dog, I thank you. For hearing my prayers, I thank you. For giving me comfort, I thank you. For all my relations, I thank you. Aho. And Sandy, if I have time, I'd like to read another one about the same length.
I think you're fine. I think you're good.
Okay, thank you. This is not something I wrote. I took it off of an Al Jazeera news site, and it's a part of an article. In Derna, and indeed across Libya, everyone is sharing a poem called The Rain, written by a poet from the city, Mustafa al-Trabelsi, who died in the floods. On 6 September, days before writing the poem, he had attended a meeting at the Derna House of Culture to discuss the risk of a flood in the city and the state of the dams. The poem is short but pertinent. It reads, "The rain exposes the drenched streets, the cheating contractor, and the failed state. It washes everything, bird wings and cat fur, reminds the poor of their fragile roofs and ragged clothes. It awakens the valleys, shakes off their yawning dust and dry crust. The rain, a sign of goodness, a sign of promise." An alarm bell. It was an alarm bell that the appointed officials of Derna chose not to hear. So now residents say the city resounds to a different sound, one of anguish as mothers talk about the loss of their children. I just thought that was something that needed to be shared.
Thank you so much, Lenora Good. Would you please put the name of our brother poet into the chat for all of us to see and appreciate? I'm glad you brought his words to our consciousness today, and I'm gonna look him up. Wow, thank you. Well, everyone, oh to the ode, oh to the ode. I also reminded a little bit that what we heard from Lenora in your first poem, really the ode and the litany they kind of can go very beautifully hand in hand. I got the sense, I really got the feeling of that in your first, in your ode. So, well, of course, always, 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 I look forward to hearing a poem in any form or no form from Martina McGowan, and Martina will be followed by Ports Parsons. Welcome.
Thank you, Sandy. Trigger warning, it is food porn. Deeply inhaling its transcendent aroma, cupping it in our hands, checking for the right temperature and the proper resilience. When we squeeze, it pushes back just a little. Running our fingers lightly over the surface, marbling at its texture, turning it, kneading it, caressing it. Seeking the prime entry point, making the first gentle incision with her thumb, just enough to feel and hear the opening sigh. Continuing our practiced meditation, separating inner from outer, putting aside the outer, we scrutinize the furry sphere, plunging deeply into its fibrous core, beginning the delicate art of partitioning, still inspecting and lifting away the pulpy bits. Gingerly, our tongue guides each morsel forward. We do not break it open immediately, but relish it and fondle it, rolling gently and guardedly about the tongue, feeling the salivary glands begin to constrict in happy anticipation. Finally, we bite it, and the juicy spiciness explodes, trying not to dribble in ecstasy, delighted with the adventure, prepping for the next allotment. We reach the end and we are satiated by this experience. Perhaps I'll try another tomorrow. Now I think I need to rest.
Oh, great stuff. Great stuff. That's Martina McGowan, everyone. Martina's got a new collection also coming out, and then there it is, A Sweeter Song. And we're looking forward to when we get to hear in a new book showcase, A Sweeter Song. I know that's in the works. Congratulations, and we're always, always very grateful for your voice here on the program. Thank you. Well, we use the word gratitude. That's a very good lead-in, because I'm most grateful for this human being, this poet, for her poetry, her humanity, and of course, all that you do for Cultivating Voices live poetry. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to offer, Ports Parsons, today. You seem very excited.
I have from the ridiculous to the sublime. So
that
I'm gonna
sounds perfect
start
for you.
with the ridiculous in a way. Okay, the first one is called Ode to Bras. Remember when you dangled from the rickety ceiling fan in the steamy second-story bedroom of the beach house that August? Hooked on a blade of giddy passion, you fluttered and twirled above us, flying brazenly there like a conqueror's flag until we packed up for home. Remember when I tried on so many of you that spring of my 35th year, spent sums I could not afford on purple and peach, gaudy and demure, lace and satin, demi-cups and strapless? I told myself I adorned myself for myself. How you have shamed me, buoyed me, chafed me, pinched me, held me down, twisted me, revealed to me my self-hate, my pride, and my whimsy. Barometer of my weight, signal flare of mood and purpose, abandoned ship of decorum, conformities, dunce cap, fire bowl in supplicant hands. I have tossed you aside the minute the door was shut, cursed you, shunned you when I felt I could. Once upon a girlhood, I longed for you, admired my own metamorphosis inside you. How many times I laughed at your stubborn resistance to fumblers, or thrilled at the thought of the big reveal. It's hard for you to remain resilient against my body's sagging apathy. I bear your teeth marks on my shoulders. I'd rather we parted. Oh my goodness. Okay, now to the sublime. I just worked on this morning. I'm going to share my screen. It has a lot of images that I took this morning of the absolutely shimmering golden world that is our wild meadow and garden right now, this 1st of October. So I hope you will indulge me. This is an ode to yellow, and I'm going to share the screen and show some images, and then read the poem along with it. Sandy, can you give me a thumbs up if this can be seen? Oh, am I frozen?
You're not frozen, but it's saying you're sharing your started screen sharing. The image is not coming up yet.
The image is not coming up yet. Let's see what happens if I press play.
Okay. Oh, yes, it's there.
It's there.
It's there.
Okay, are we ready? Ode to yellow, everyone. Ode to yellow. Glory of goldenrod, buttery lace against slanted blue, persistence of shining bloom, canary song of light, amber eye of late asters, flaming heart of lingering dahlias, blossom burst of sweetness, tongue of yellow joy, flickering candle of tiger wings, flecks of shimmering chrysalis, lemony pollen of waning possibility, swelling of honey completion, firelit doorway to the egg yolk center, fiery moat of plenty. Thanks you all for letting me share today. Have a great rest of the reading, and thank you for the glorious odes. You're lifting my soul to the heavens.
They are glorious, and thank you for your contribution to the complicated relationship to that piece of lingerie, as well as that most glorious of panoramic scenes from the Shenandoah Valley. Oh my gosh. A more perfect ode to yellow. I love where we're going and where we're going with our odes. Like it's a very prismatic reading, isn't it, Kim, so far? The choices, and we love the prismatic here, Cultivating Voices live poetry, right? It's a big love fest today. Absolutely. Well, we go back now to a place certainly that I love, near and dear to my heart, Pacific Northwest, and I believe it is the incomparable Risa Denenberg who is next. Thank you, Risa, again for last week. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was wonderful, Sandy. Thanks, everyone. These are great. I'm cheating. I don't think this really qualifies as an ode, although it feels like an ode. It's more of an elegy. And it's dedicated to my closest friend, John Greenberg, who died of AIDS in 1993. And it's a poem after W.H. Auden that many people may recognize. Here, let me, no, that's not going to work. Let me just read you the lines from his poem that this imitates. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. You are my kitchen. I can't make my eggplant dish without you. You dice the onion so I won't cry. You strike the match to light the oven. You are my breakfast. We drink coffee from jelly jars. I can't sweep the floors without you here. You are my critic, my lost amethyst string, my favorite berry, the knife that scrapes the pith of me, the toothy grin of the missing boy on the milk carton, my root beer float. You are the postcard of Calliope you airmailed from Mykonos, that other time you left vowing to never return. And then the present of you, gifts of brisket, banter, side-splitting quarrels. I make rugelach every year on your birthday. You are my morning shower, my evening biscuit. Thanks for letting me read that.
I've heard that poem before, and I really love that poem. Just the tenderness of it and all the turns that it takes. That's just really beautiful. Thank you, Risa. I want to just also say, because you mentioned the elegy and doing a little bit of my research today for the program, I mean, really what we saw in your poem is this kaleidoscope of the ode with, it's kind of like the nesting dolls, right? We've got the elegy, we've got the litany, all contained within the ode. And if you do read about the ode, you'll often see that they are, the odes are often compared to elegies, homages, litanies. They're all part of a very similar constellation. We are getting such gifts today as we are exploring the ode here together on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Thank you again, Risa, for everything. And to stay here in the Pacific Northwest. Sylvia Pollack, beautiful to have you with us today.
Here we are. All right. I know I was excited when I saw this, program today, and I thought, oh, it's going to be wonderful. And then just when I was walking up the stairs here to my study, I realized, hell, I have an ode in my new book that's coming out. I should read it to you. So I forgot, but now here it is. It's called Ode to a Brick Barbecue. More substantial than a Weber, it anchors the cabin deck, secure above possession's rising, ebbing tides. Constructed by my father years ago when this beach house was mine, owned now by someone who never saw freckle-faced heads protruding from a half-constructed smoker oven, or heard discussions of Amontillado casks, vague threats to brick up boys. Dad inserted racks and doors, grouted bricks fastidiously. Row by row, walls rose, rounding to a dome that stands now like the Pantheon. My sons are grown, take their own kids to see what Grandpa Ray assembled using Sunset's plans. A 6-foot-tall outdoor barbecue with oven where we smoked a whole turkey one Thanksgiving. Salmon, ribs, and ears of corn were roasted there all summers long. The smoke plus salt from air and sea preserved our best and worst. Last week, one son went with his 2-year-old to see the barbecue, not offering her like Isaac, but honoring where memories still smolder in that brick cathedral.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's Sylvia Pollack, everyone. Congratulations on your new collection.
Thank you.
Kim and I have duly noted it, so we'll be in touch with you about a new book showcase when the time is near. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Everybody, I believe that we all have odes in our repertoires. We just don't call them odes. And it's very, very easy to elevate a number of your poems probably to ode status. If you take a look around. So if we do another ode reading, fear not, you have an ode. You have an ode somewhere. Well, next we'll hear an ode from April J. Asbury. Great to have you on the program today.
Thank you. I'd like to give everybody the exercise that I was using whenever I wrote this poem, because I think you might enjoy trying it yourself. I found this in, I believe it was a copy of Poets and Writers, in an interview with the poet Matthew Lippman. And when he was asked to give one of his remedies for writer's block, this is what he gave. He said, first of all, at the top of your paper, write the letter O. That big, huge, old-fashioned and archaic grand opening, right? But then, what are you saying O to? You say it to something that is small or frivolous, or has never actually gotten any sort of big greeting before. It's not, oh, death, or oh, the Grecian urn. It's going to be something like, oh, lamppost, oh, kitchen shears, oh, bread tie, whatever you've got, but to pick something small. And the absurdity of it, first of all, is great fun. And just like a good getting over writer's block exercise, it's going to push you a little bit into someplace new. And then once you hit the absurdity, sometimes if you keep going, you end up with something that is maybe a little bit more meaningful than you planned. And that happened to me with this poem. I was giving the Lippman exercise to a class of writing poetry students. And we're all coming up with all of our strange things that we're writing to, like, oh, electric outlets kind of stuff. And I looked around and I realized that every single female student in the class was wearing a scrunchie that day. One of those big, scrunchy hair. I hadn't seen one in a really long time, but they came back in style. So this was my poem to that humble, overlooked, denigrated fashion item. This is the Scrunchy Jubilee. Oh, scrunchy! Captor of loose tendrils, protector of rebel curls. Well, we recall your days of fame. Crude elastic bands, muffled in velvet and ruffles of brocade, lace, satin, jersey, blazing tubes of neon lycra, prints and patterns and pale pastels. Alas, too soon. You were damned to dustbins, begrudged to Goodwills, tucked in gritty corners of musty workout bags. Fashionistas sneered at your soft crinkles and puffy bunches, your parrot bright reds, yellows, greens, blues, tacky, they shrilled. Dated, they shrieked. And we hid the best of you in crowded drawers with lingerie and scented sachets in shame. But lo, Scrunchy, you return. You slink free from the workout bags and the stuffy drawers. You slip over fistfuls of our sweat-damp hair, embrace bony wrists like brave and barbaric bangles. We lift bangs from our eyes and ready ourselves to run, fight, fly, and shake our tresses free, unbroken in our own sweet time. Thank you.
Oh, yes. First of all, thank you for sharing the prompt. As I put in the chat, we love a good prompt because, that can propel us to the next thing. Absolutely. I can completely see how this particular prompt would achieve all the things that you said it did. Like you're stuck and you move from the absurd, obviously, to getting to the sublime. I can, it's obvious that sometimes that absurdity is going to take you to the place that you actually wanted to go, were afraid to go, were feeling like you couldn't go. And then that absurdity, it reminds me a lot of, there's a dance practice called the 5 rhythms. And when you move from chaos, the next rhythm is lyrical, like chaos breaks into lyrical. And so a cousin might be absurdity can break into the sublime. It's really terrific. And to the scrunchy. Oh my gosh. You just had me at the first line. Brilliant. Thank you so much, April. That's April J. Asbury. So glad you joined us today. Oh, and we got a bonus prompt. So there might be a whole new program based on that prompt in the future. Thank you again. Well, I'm always pleased to be in the company of dear Isaac Cohen. Good evening, my dear friend.
Shalom, dear Sandy, dear Kim, dear Don, and dear all my friends in the world. Today is a holiday for the Jews, and I invite all the people to come to Tel Aviv. Isaac Cohen, ode to Daniel. Daniel was a poor boy. Daniel wanted to learn to play the violin. No one wanted to teach him. Daniel learned autodidact. One day he played the violin. All the people enjoyed and wanted to teach him. Daniel said, "He who wants to teach me must agree to teach another poor boy." The teacher, Yelena de Perret, agreed. In the middle of the night, you can listen to the terrier playing. Ode to Daniel. The tears of the angels in the Garden of Eden joined like a choir. The tears fell and blessed rain fell. And the second, Cohen, an ode to Charles Baudelaire. The voice of the leaves played on your heart strings. No music sheets, only great passion flying over the world. No guitar, piano, because the wind played on your groveling stomach, sending a message to the world. Look at the poor talented. The music is in his body. The melody is his soul. Maestro, play. Thank you, Cohen, Israel.
That is the ever transcendent Isaac Cohen. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you today.
Thank you.
Well, our final featured poet, and it looks like we will easily get to some folks on the waiting list. Our final feature poet today, we go from Tel Aviv to Cork. Catherine Ronan, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Like you said, Sandy, I think we've all written odes in some form or other. So I've just changed the title of this one. It's going to be in my debut collection, Elemental Skin, and it's a poem for my husband. So I'm going to call it Ode to Pat. You are the river flowing through me. You are the rock steps across. You are the red kites above me. You are the I am not lost. You are the never leave me. You are the never why. You are the never question. You are the reason I try. You are the calm in my purple chaos. Forgive me again.
Very good. Yes, again. I can't emphasize enough what you said. It's really, a lot of us are writing odes, whether we're recognizing it or not. I mean, there's an exaltation that we're achieving in our poems, and that really lends itself to the ode. So very, very easy to say, today, this is an ode to X, because really it is, even though that hasn't been the working title. A great reminder. Thank you so much, Catherine. Always great to see and hear you. Well, we are going to our waiting list. It's one poem for folks on our waiting list. And we've got 3 folks today. I will, if there's time, throw in a 4th poem for good measure. And that will be our program, and with some announcements. So thank you so much to our folks on our waiting list. And up first is Jacki Slagle.
Going off of what you were just saying, I wrote this at the beginning of June, and it didn't have a title, but now it has the title, Ode to the Temperate Rainforest. And I do rhyming with mine. So the sound of the rain is lifting my pain. These cedars, their roots are feeders, mycelium beneath, electromagnetism up into my feet. See the moss? Is it just like you thought? Bryophytes like this wet, the branches and eaves they inhabit. Will we see the sensitive kinds, the type that only thrives when the quality of a lifetime is exceptionally fine? Taste this usnea tea. Smell what symbiosis be. Can that liverwort feel me, stroking the surface blissfully? And just so you know, bryophytes are moss, lichen, and liverworts. Thank you.
Jacki, terrific, terrific reminder that we're having trouble with the title. Call it an ode. Ode to whatever the thing is that the poem is about. And now we've got our title. Now we've got our title. Again, we can take great liberties, but also what I really love about your poem, well, so much of the science and the, just the visceral botany of it. The visceral botany of it is also that an ode can be something very microscopic or very expansive, like to the whole temperate rainforest, the idea of the rainforest. A great, great reminder of how odes can really be very accordion-esque, right? And yours opened us wide open to the idea of the rainforest. What a great contribution. Thank you so much, Jacki. Glad to have you with us on the program today. We'll see you again soon, I hope. Bring more poetry, always. Mary Mathis, how nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
On this fine day.
Thank you. When I first heard about the theme for today, odes, I also thought of OWED, and that made me think of Risa. What is the title, Risa? What we owe others, or what is it?
What we owe each other.
What we owe each other.
That book I wrote using John's journals.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read that, man, please do. Risa and I are friends, and I'll just say that she's been a poet for a long, long time. But at one point, she just started writing poetry all the time. Well, she was also a fantastic nurse and a volunteer well, anyway, she had a full life, but she managed to write a lot of poetry in a very short period of time. And I don't know, her poetry just became like a trillion times better than it had been before. It just improved. So she was already a good poet, and she became what I consider just an exquisite poet in a very short period of time. And it was after she moved to the Pacific Northwest. So I don't know if the mountains and the water had anything to do with it or not, but man, she's fantastic. I'm not a poet. I considered trying to write an ode this week, but then I forgot about it, with work and everything. And I'm a little reluctant to read this poem because of its subject matter, but I'm going to read it anyway. It's by 1Oct2023, and I greatly admire her work. It's part of what probably is her most famous work, Requiem. So it's just part 8 of Requiem. And I think I first read this in this book right here. And it's The Poetry of Our World, an international anthology of contemporary poetry. It's really, really good. It's about 20 years old now, so it's not the contemporary. That means, it was written 5 minutes ago, but it's a very good anthology, I think. So this was written just on the very eve of World War II, the 19th of August, 1939. So 8, to death. You will come in any case, so why not now? How long I wait and wait. The bad times fall. I have put out the light and opened the door for you, because you are simple and magical. Assume then any form that suits your wish. Take aim and blast at me with poisoned shot, or strangle me like an efficient mugger, or else infect me, typhus be my lot, or spring out of the fairy tale you wrote. the one we're sick of hearing day and night, where the blue hat band marches up the stairs, led by the janitor, pale with fright. It's all the same to me. The Yannone swirls, that's a river in Russia. The North Star shines, as it will shine forever, and the blue luster of my loved one's eyes is clouded over by the final horror. And indeed, her common law husband died. Well, this whole sequence of poems, the Requiem, is about Stalinism, the Stalinist terror, and indeed, her husband would die later in the early 50s in the camps. She lived on into the 60s. Thank you.
Mary Mathis, thank you. I never want a person to apologize for bringing Anna Akhmatova to the program. If folks, you are not familiar with Akhmatova's work, well, first of all, Requiem is probably one of the most significant poems of the 20th century. It is, of course, considered in that canon of poetry of witness, but there is also great elegiacal qualities to it. And so what a great contribution to the program today. And again, folks, if you are not familiar with Akhmatova, here's been a wonderful gift from Mary for you to learn of another significant poet in all of our legacies, our global bowl of poetry that we are able to feast on. I'll give a little fact, an additional fact about Akhmatova. Akhmatova was very, very close with another significant poet of that time, and who also is another significant poet of the 20th century, Marina Tsvetaeva. And they would sit together because of the seriousness of the situation that they both found themselves in. The absolute stifling repression that they were under. And they would sit in Marina Tsvetaeva's apartment and memorize each other's poems and then burn them, so that another person would remember the poem in case something happened to the other one. So the poetry that these two women produced, again, some of the most important in the world. Again, thank you so much. Well, we'll get two more poems today. We'll be happy to hear the ode from the second to last reader. Maybe not so much the last reader, but our second to last reader is Catherine Fletcher. Welcome. Good to have you with us on our of this extravagant smorgasbord of odes.
Thank you. It's great to be with you all. And I'm a little bit under the weather, so I hadn't planned to read today, but you all inspired me so much that I just wanted to pull this out and share it with you. It's called Ode to X. Dear X, number 104 of our alphabet, let us celebrate your outstretched arms, the contracts you signed in the Old West. Dear Tilted Cross, dear Alternative 10, how beautifully you plot the horizon's line, leave kisses at the ends of letters. X, moniker of superheroes, without you the fox would be foe. Our mistakes would go unmarked. We'd risk danger crossing railroad tracks. Dear voiceless velar fricative, without you Mandarin would go unromanized. The French would be stuck in singular. Basques would be speechless. X, you're the solution to algebra's equations, half of the game of tic-tac-toe. How many pirates you've guided to treasure, how many ballots you've transformed to votes. In your absence, X, this text does not exist. It's impossible to be exact. We're compelled to keep the Christ in Christmas. There's no climax, no sex, no dirty movies rated in Times Square days gone by, no barrels of liquor labeled. Our vices impossible to classify. X for xenon, X for rays, illuminators of bones, X for the hybrid's botanist name. Dear X, the chromosome that makes me the woman writing this poem.
Keep bringing poems when you're under the weather. That's a terrific poem. and I sincerely do hope you're feeling better. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Ode to X. That's Catherine Fletcher. That's a terrific poem, and I don't really want to follow it, but I will. Oh my God! We got to hear an O and an X, XO. Like we got to hear XO. I love that. I love that we had the that in play on our Poets Focus today's to the ode. Well, I did the blasphemous thing. I took a poem that did not have a title, ode, and I just slapped ode to it on here because I feel like I want to read it. Okay, that's that's shameless. There it is. That's the truth of the matter. But it is coming from the new collection called The Glass Studio. It's almost complete. And really I think of the whole collection as an ode to glass. So this is one of the poems called its actual title is The Properties of Glass, but I'm going to call it Ode to Glass for today. We stand outside underneath the stars, inside the black blue bowl of night, while the river twines around us. I once trusted this woman I could not love. She had arrived years before from two worlds, the one she thought she understood, and the one snaking in front of her 10 times over. She chose neither, electing instead to stay pinned inside her glass cage. I tried to reach her, but the glass was too thick from where I stood inside my own, not comprehending what glass stood for: breakable, unbroken, seamless, flat. We were double paned, and I could discern only from the other sides of both, grim, foggy, wispy with seeds, that those antique panes had survived longer than the sum of us. Tonight, unexpectedly finding ourselves together on the Smith River, decades later, we step inside her cabin, constructed with no glass shields to confine us, and sleep under strands of artificial lights, constellations of our own making. Earlier, with daylight, we twined our way down the rock faces of the snaking Smith River. She told me we were not anywhere a map could call home. We were not anywhere a map could comprehend. She guided us down a crude, curved road she'd traveled many times before. But curved is too kind a word for the pattern I found us threading. Road is too generous. Let's try again. We white-knuckled a car around the Smith River's faces, laughing hysterically to assuage our imminent terror and to apprehend our breakthrough of awe. Well, folks, I am in awe of all of you for our tremendous, tremendous Poets Focus today on the ode. Oh, the ode. Oh, the odes that we heard. We heard from Bryan Franco, Marjorie Maddox, Regina YC Garcia, Ann Tweedy, Lenora Good, Martina McGowan, Ports Parsons, Risa Denenberg, Sylvia Pollack, April J. Asbury, Isaac Cohen, Catherine Ronan, and Jacki Slagle, Mary Mathis, Catherine Fletcher, and yours truly. Oh, it was a magnificent, magnificent reading. And would you all unmute yourselves to show your appreciation for our poets today on our special poets focus on Ode.
Yay!
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Thank you.
Brava, brava,
Huzzah, indeed.
fantastic.
Bravo,
Good
bravo,
call, good
bravo,
call, good call,
bravo.
Kim, for choose saying, let's do the ode. We'll have to do it again. Oh my gosh. Well, folks, this is our first of our Oktoberfest of poetry here on Cultivating Voices live poetry. And I want to remind you that, of course, we'll be back next week. It's always the second Sunday, which means it's our new books showcase. We'll be joined by Pratibha Castle, Yeva Johnson, who's here in the house. Yes. Eamon Wall and Ann Miles. You will not want to miss this fabulous constellation of poets. Next week, same time, same place here live in Zoom if you can join us. And of course, if those of you watching on Facebook, we always appreciate you. And always, 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 if you can't join us live, you have the beautiful privilege to be able to watch us on the recordings, exquisitely and lovingly curated by Don Krieger. Thank you also to Don and to Kim Ports Parsons. Program could never exist without the two of you. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone, for Cultivating Voices live poetry. Oh, what a day it was here on the program. I'm so grateful to be with all of you. And I will be equally as grateful to be with all of you next Sunday. As I like to remind everyone at the end of every program, please take very good care of yourselves this week. Take exquisite care of your beloveds. And keep writing those poems and odes. Look what happens. See you next week. Take good care.